Welcome back to the Oasis, where I give you the fastest and most natural ways to heal from a varicocele. And today's video is about how should an athlete move in the best way to heal from a varicocele as fast and naturally as possible. So if I was an athlete, what would I do to have the fastest amount of recovery from this problem?
Whether you're an athlete, entrepreneur, or a professional, or anyone who wants to deal with the real underlying mechanical reason why varicoceles can occur,
Regardless of if you've had successful varicocele surgery or if you've not had varicocele surgery,
when you want to make sure your libido, your testosterone, and your fertility are brought to the highest baseline as fast as possible, all you need to do are three things that fight against the pull of technology that is making us all so sick. The first one is you need to stretch out those muscle knots and put your body into a neutral alignment. Get rid of those imbalances. Second one is to strengthen your body in a V-taper towards a swimmer's physique because they are the most resistant to varicoceles. You must do this without putting pressure on your pelvis or your varicocele. And the third one is to actively heal so that whether you're walking, working, sitting, or getting ready to sleep even, not only are you not practicing habits that are making symptoms worse, but you're toning your body in a way that is making you more robust. Those three principles are all that I teach on this channel. If you want the fastest way to do all of these things, click the link, giving your libido, your fertility, and your testosterone the highest chance of being maximized. Now back to regular viewing.
and we're going to talk about that. Now, the first thing is very obvious. First thing is you need to get a medical opinion. So go to your healthcare professional, go to your doctor, go to your physiotherapist, and you want to just get a real medical opinion. You want to get checked out. You want to make sure that there isn't any underlying issue, such as a tumor that might be causing the symptom. And then you also want to understand the grade is that you have. And you want to also look at what do you want. So do you look to have children in the next few months or even years, right? How much time do you have? How old are you? How old are you and your spouse, right? You need to factor these things in and really talk to a healthcare professional. So none of the videos on this channel are medical advice. I share my own experience of dealing with a varicocele and healing from it. And I really have had a lot of experience doing a lot of exercise. I have pretty much have an athletic mindset, and I would train in such a way. And that is something that athletes need to be aware of, because the figures show that if you're an athlete, if you train more than 3 times a week, this can actually increase the chances that you're going to have a varicocele. So compared to people that are more sedentary, you can actually have higher numbers of people that, and this is statistically significant, than people who are sedentary. Now, I've spoken before about swimmers. So there was a study specifically on water polo players, and they actually had the lowest numbers of occurrences. And I have a lot of theories on why this is the case, but people think that it's to do with the temperature of the water. It was just lowering the temperature in the body. So this reduced the chances of having a varicocele in the first place, because you don't dilate as much if the temperature is lower. And therefore, this is causing a lot of things that can be going on in that situation, such as it's naturally toning the cremasteric muscles as well. So number one, speak to a healthcare professional. But as an athlete, the main point of this is, I don't want to go too much into the weeds. The main point of it is that you can be at a higher chance of having a varicocele. So you need to know how to move, therefore, more than the average person does, to make that something that is less likely to occur or to be aggravated. So how do you do that? How do you make it less likely to be aggravated? So right now I am actually, let's call this point number 2. Point number 1 was seek a healthcare professional. Point number 2 is you want to be in a situation where you are having low pressure on the pelvis, and you want to train where there's high pressure in the upper body.
I'm offering one lucky viewer on this channel a hidden reward.
as part of the 12K Chris Williamson challenge. Chris is a podcaster, one of the biggest podcasts on the planet. I believe his health issue he has recently talked about is as a result of poor vascular health, which my Ironman protocol can fix. If you want to win the hidden reward, scroll down to the description section of this video and copy the link next to Chris Williamson 12K challenge. The first person to get this link to Chris Williamson wins. Or if you raise Harms's attention, because he also knows Chris Williamson. If he watches that link as a result of you messaging him, whether it's on YouTube, email, or Instagram, and he confirms as much, then the hidden reward is yours. So back to a regular viewing.
And so right now I'm crouching while I'm writing this. You might not be able to see me on the camera, but you get the lovely view at least of South London behind you. It's the beautiful skyline of South London. Now I'm crouching because I have an instinct, I have a habit, because I'm now in tune with my body, that if I can feel I've been standing for too long and there's too much pressure on my pelvis, I will just do something like crouch, right? I'm very aware of it. So I don't just allow myself to always be standing around in a static way, right? As I'm crouching, I'm rolling my pelvis back and forth, right? And some of these things you can do, they're not particularly apparent to others that you're doing them. And my Ironman protocol course, which gives you the most cutting edge, fastest way to heal from a varicocele. I'm not a medical professional, so I'm not talking from that standpoint, but from my own personal experience, that course gives you the way to heal in the fastest way. And some of it is what I'm doing right now. So number 2, the way to move is low pressure pelvis, high pressure upper. Now this bit, I'm specifically talking about training. So the second part, high pressure upper, you want to train in that kind of a way where you have both of these going on. But in general, you want to always be aware of the amount of pressure on your pelvis, and you want to not get so imbalanced that you're in a static state where you're just standing around and your pelvis has all this pressure on it, or you're sitting around and your pelvis has all this pressure on it. Now, that is the key to it, because I'll give you a quick breakdown. You can see my guide on what a varicocele is for more of a complex understanding of it. But the basics is, here's a healthy vein. So here's a healthy normal vein, right? This is for normal. And here's one that is dilated. So we call it varicose, right? It's a varicocele in the scrotum. So you can see it's wider, right? It's been dilated, but they actually end up staying that width. And the reason why is because the valves have stopped working. So blood no longer just flows in one direction back to the heart. Instead, it's pooling back on itself and eventually causes the vein itself to bulge. So here are the valves. The valves are imperfect. Lovely sounds of motorbikes in the background to illustrate the sound of an alarm when your body is having a problem. That's exactly why I hire those motorbike people down there. And so you want to move in such a way where you are always conscious of the amount of pressure on your pelvis. And when you're training, you want to at least have a couple of days in the week where you're doing a regimen of high pressure upper and low pressure pelvis, right? Where there's minimal obstruction, is straight in your pelvis, and there's minimal pressure. So it's the opposite of a deadlift. A deadlift would be you're using your whole lower body and your upper body to lift weights. That wouldn't be what I'm talking about. So this is not like deadlift, right? The closest thing to this would be like rowing, but it's not rowing either, because rowing, you're still compressing that area. So it will be something closer to a muscle up, will be closer to something you would go for, a weighted muscle up. That would be closer to the way you would train to start to help yourself have the correct musculoskeletal balance that is going to give you the best chances of healing from a varicocele. And there are reasons for this that I won't get into in this video because it can get quite complicated, and it's also quite theoretical too. But let's say we'll go into point number 3 now. So number 1 is you want to get medical opinion. Number 2 is you want to move in a way where there's low pressure in your pelvis and high pressure in your chest relative. And that can even mean something like when you're walking, you're bulging your chest out, shoulders back, head up, and you maintain that great posture, right? And you're literally pumping your shoulders back every now and again. You don't have to look like a crazy person, but you are always refusing to hold tension up in your upper body. And this is automatically pulling up your pelvis and signaling to your central nervous system that you are in a state of relaxation. So this is also part of the psychology behind active healing and not worsening things, even if you're sitting or driving, right? So active healing, there are things like deep tissue massages that are very useful. Stretching, of course, of your upper body and your lower body, very important, so you can undo those muscle knots. But then if you actually want to strengthen in such a way where you're practicing from moment to moment healing, so even when you're walking, when you're sitting, the principle behind it is you want to start to use that low pressure pelvis and higher pressure upper. So upper would be cervical, thoracic. So cervical spine's the neck, thoracic's sort of chest area. The lower back will be the lumbar area. So you want to move away from the lumbar and start to move up towards the thoracic and the cervical. And we want to get really good at, if you're in the car, opening those shoulders, opening that chest, right? Pulling that neck back. You might even dip it forward every now and again, but you're always refusing to hold tension in that body, in your body. Now, deep tissue massages will be needed when no amount of moving is going to undo those muscle knots. You need to actually get into those areas where the muscle fibers are not working in the right way and break them apart. So at some point you may need to do deep tissue massage. In my Ironman protocol course, I show a way to do this for free. It's basically using my magical drumstick, and I give a sort of outline of the ways you can break apart some of those muscle knots for free. Again, not medical advice. You always want to talk to your physiotherapist, your healthcare professional, and say, do they recommend this? Because you don't want to damage your lymphatic system or something like that, right? So my advice is what worked for me, but you got to always double check this stuff. So active healing is you're telling your central nervous system that you are in a state of relaxation. Somebody who has a good posture, shoulders back, chin up, right? I don't care if you're playing football. I don't care if you're playing basketball. I don't care if you're sitting. I don't care if you're walking, right? You always want to be aware of this. If you're going to be playing basketball and you're always leaning forward, right, that's going to eventually compound, right? If you're playing football and you're always leaning forward, right, and you got bad posture, that's going to compound eventually. So you want to always get to the point where, look at Ronaldo. He's a great example of this, right? Ronaldo, the footballer. Ronaldo was a fantastic example of somebody who has fantastic posture, even though he's a professional footballer. He's got phenomenal posture. Watch him. When he's playing, he's got extremely good posture. It's almost as though his consciousness is running the avatar, and he's telling the avatar, make sure that you have this posture, and it's going for the goal, but it's not doing so in a way that is scared or anxious or stressed. It's not carrying tension like that. Ronaldo has fantastic pose and posture when he's exercising, when he's playing, when he's competing. So one way of looking at this, a really good way of looking at this, is something that I cover in my Ironman protocol. And this is the thing that really you need to just get into your psyche to heal. So point number 4 is you want to have a swimmer's physique, and let's say swimmer's function, right? Musculoskeletally. So your spine, your anatomy, all of you're operating in such a way where your head is pulled away from your shoulders. You have this space between your head and your shoulders. Vanessa Van Edwards, I believe she's a psychologist, talks about the evolutionary reasons why we view people who have maximum distance between their shoulders and their chin as more attractive. People can actually read how healthy you are. So the more distance between your chin and your shoulders, the more healthy people view you to be, the more attractive they view you to be, the more high status they view you to be, because you look healthy. Carrying yourself in the maximal pose, that's going to be good for health. So the swimmer's physique is now you're creating all of this strength going up from your pelvis in a V taper up towards your shoulders. You're accustomed to pulling them back as well as extending your shin. So whether you're swimming, whether you're driving, whether you're sitting, whether you're playing football, basketball, you're very accustomed to pulling your shoulders up and back, and you just maintain that pose. No, you don't hold it. You're not tight. You don't hold tension, but you're constantly rolling and opening the upper triangle, right? The thoracic and the cervical area. And this is what I teach in my Ironman protocol. I go down, because this is hard to This stuff, you need to know this stuff because you need to know the principles, but you won't really understand it until you apply it into your healing regimen. You need something you can apply in less than 2 hours a week. That's going to skyrocket your healing. So if you want the fastest, most cutting edge, latest, most up to date, I'm always fine tuning this stuff and optimizing my protocol, then click the link right now. If you want the fastest, most natural, cutting edge way to heal your varicocele naturally. Again, this is not medical advice. This is based on my own experience and I share what worked for me. So you got to always apply this based on getting the proper advice from a medical professional. But if you want to see what worked for me and you want the most cutting edge version of it, click the link and get the Iron Man protocol where I show you how to train in such a way that you undo the muscle knots and you open up your body towards the swimmer's physique. Swimmers, according to one study, have the lowest incidences of varicoceles. And part of it is that V-taper, the way that their muscles work in that kind of a way. Low pressure pelvic and high pressure upper body. That is the key to all of it. And the thing to know about it is that this is not a pill popping solution. If you want something, you can just pop a pill, right? If you're an athlete, you probably don't want that. You're used to working for things. I'll show you how to heal your body systemically so that your body is more healthy, your body's working in a better way altogether. This is a whole body, holistic, mechanical solution. It's a very specific mechanical. It's a very specific set of exercises that you do. Not many exercises. It's really pretty much just one exercise and then active healing as well. This takes you less than 2 hours a week. And the active healing part of it, you just incorporate into your normal life. You just live your life normally and you just are aware of certain things. This ends up, for me, what it ended up doing was curing a pretty high grade of varicocele naturally without any surgery, without any embolization. And the results are fantastic, right? Higher libido, higher quality of functionality in that area as you would expect, bigger balls, higher testosterone, more drive, more lust for life. Then if you want that, you don't want to pill pop a solution, click the link for the most up-to-date version that I fine-tuned for you so that it's the safest, fastest, and most natural. And thanks for watching. But this is the reason why athletes can end up with more varicoceles and how to fix it. So number one is seek medical advice. That's number one. Number two is that you want to focus on having a low pressure pelvis and a high pressure upper body, particularly when you're strengthening and training. But as a baseline, always be aware of your pelvis being in a low pressure and always remember to get your posture where it should be and moving your energy towards your upper body. Number two is active healing using that same principle of the swimmer's physique. And number three, if you're serious about healing as fast as you can, jump on to the other side and get the Iron Man protocol. But that's it. As always, thanks for journeying with me.